everybody. The first question that I have is, port drivers have long been misclassified and mistreated as independent contractors. As a result, trucking companies have avoided paying taxes, maintenance of trucks, and driver benefits. This worker misclassification is in spite of rulings made by the New Jersey Department of Treasury and other state federal agencies that say that port drivers should be classified as employees. The question for you is, will you call on the New Jersey Department of Labor and other agencies to conduct an industry-wide investigation and enforcement action regarding tax evasion and wage theft of port drivers? Please explain your answers.
And if you don't remember the question exactly, it's behind you.
It's really short.
Well, first, I had the pleasure to go and do a tour of the port and all of the businesses down there, and I saw firsthand the truckers up and down, which is public roads in the port, actually training themselves on the port how to drive, right? So these are like owner-operated businesses that are there trying to make money, contracting with port industry there to get jobs moving back and forth. I think, first of all, those guys need to be, the whole port industry needs to be regulated. The city needs to come down there and enforce the kind of things that are going on the port to make sure that not only are the conditions for drivers are adequate and efficient, but also that we're getting the payroll tax that we're supposed to get, that we're getting the other revenue that we're supposed to get from the port and the whole trucking industry. When they lift the Bayonne Bridge, because of the Panama Canal, we're going to get more, those Panamax boats coming into the city, which means there'll be more containers, more warehousing, more industry, more transportation, more logistics, which is going to be heavy on emissions in the air, but also heavy in terms of labor and working conditions in that community. So those drivers need to be organized. They need to be organized, and we need to demand fair wages and fair labor conditions for them. We also need to have a direct relationship with the port and those drivers to make sure that the city is receiving the revenue that they're supposed to get based on the work that they do every day.
Will you contact the Department of Labor?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Department of Labor, I would definitely enforce or talk to them about making sure that they enforce all of the rules and regulations on the port for truck drivers down there.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a very important issue. When we have truckers who are treated as independent contractors and not employees, it means first they get less wages, they make less money, which affects their families. It means that also they have to go into their pocket to modernize their trucks. So we think about some of the pollutants that we have from these very old and dirty trucks that are pumping large amounts of pollutants into the lungs of Norkers, which is causing Norkers to have asthma and to die and to get cancer. It's connected to the fact that these shipping companies are treating our truck drivers as independent contractors. They don't then have the money to modernize their trucks. They don't make enough wages to take care of their own families. It also means if they lose their job, they don't get unemployment insurance because they're not paying into that either. So this has to be a fundamental issue. This is also where I have experience. When I was at the state level, we had a similar problem with Federal Express. With Federal Express, we're treating its truck drivers as independent contractors. And so what we did when I was counsel to the Attorney General, we partnered with the Labor Department and we sued them. And we took them to court and we forced them to change their practices so they treated their workers fairly and so that their workers had the kind of benefits that they deserve and that their families needed. And so that's the kind of mayor I'm going to be. So not only will I advocate for the Labor Department to take action, I will push them to take action. And if they don't, the City of Newark, through its Corporation Counsel's Office, we can bring litigation so that our workers at the port are treated fairly, they have the unemployment insurance that they need, and just as important, so that they can modernize their fleet so we don't have as much pollutants going into the lungs of Norkers. This is particularly important because we have an apprenticeship program for Norkers to get these truck driver jobs. So we're going to send Norkers into these opportunities so that they can get a decent job to take care of their family. But when they get the job, they then got to take money out of their pocket to modernize their fleet. They don't get benefits. So if they're sick and their family needs those kind of health benefits, they don't get those either. That's not a good job for Norkers. So you're going to have mayors going to fight on all these different levels to make sure Norkers have good jobs with good benefits and good wages, that they get the unemployment insurance that they're entitled to, but also that we clean up our environment so Norkers aren't dying because of the predatory practices of truck drivers and shipping companies, at the port.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the ports a little bit. After all, we are the Ports Coalition. Environmental pollution like diesel pollution from trucks can be decreased or mitigated in a variety of ways with actions like using newer, less polluting trucks, enforcing anti-idling laws, and installing air filters in schools. The Port Authority adopted a policy to ban pre-1994 trucks by 2011. Hasn't done it yet, 2014. And all pre-2007 trucks by 2017 to reduce diesel pollution. The program is not being enforced. What will you do to force the Port Authority to reduce air pollution from port trucks and other port activities? Mr. Rock, I think you're up first.
Well, we have to engage the Port Authority about everything, right? So not only are they not doing what they're supposed to do in terms of the trucks, they're not hiring Newarkers, they're not giving us, we make less than 1% of the amount of money that they produce and business that they do, the billions of dollars that they do annually, they give us less than 1% of that. We need to begin to get more revenue from them, we need to get more jobs from them, and we need them to hold true to the promises that they made, even the impact study they did themselves and say that they're going to do something about clean air from Port Authority. We have to engage Port Authority directly, and when the mayor from Jersey City came, he immediately began to sue Port Authority for $400 million. We are going to have to go into Port Authority and begin to talk to them about not only the Port Authority lease agreements, the true-ups that we're supposed to take place every 4 to 5 years, about developing on their land that they refuse to develop, which means less money for Newarkers, and begin to send lawyers in there to audit completely how much money that they're making in the gross, and begin to talk to them about the impact that they have on pollution in the city. And if we need to, create a kind of ordinance about the land that's ours and the amount of pollution that comes out of that land, and they have to begin to pay us a fee every time that we go down there and inspect and find out that they are not holding true to what they said they were going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries.
It's going to be very important for the mayor to have a close partnership with the state. The state, whether it's our school system, where the majority of our budget comes from the state, whether it's the port, we got to have the mayor can have a close partnership so that we can address these issues. When it comes to enforcement of this ordinance about the banning of these old, dirty trucks, which again, we should be very clear, essentially are killing some number of Newarkers, where when we have this amount of pollutants coming into the air, there's a higher rates of cancer, higher rates of asthma. This is an urgent public health issue. And so we're going to demand that they enforce that ordinance. And if they don't, we'll take them to court. Obviously, we prefer not to have to pursue that remedy because we need to partner with the state on other areas. But we will use every tool available to us to make sure that we protect the health and that we protect the wellness of our people. And this, again, it spans more broadly, the range of issues that we've been talking about today, not only for jobs for Newarkers, but also opportunities for Newark-based businesses to grow. The independent contractor piece is very important, is very connected to this as well, because many, when these truckers are viewed as independent contractors, they simply do not have the money in order to make these investments to modernize their trucking force. It's very expensive for an independent contractor to modernize these trucks so that they have the cleaner polluting mechanisms in place so you don't have as much pollution. So by forcing the shipping employers to treat these as employees and not as independent contractors, that's how these units will have the resource they need to modernize, along with the time that we're pushing the port to do what it can on its end as well.
Thanks to both of you gentlemen for answering the questions. Thank you.